Hello, hello. I've arrived. All right, so getting over it. Yes. So, I suppose there's not much more to be said about that. Yes. Let's see. Business. So, today, getting over it. Right now. Tomorrow, should be, tomorrow, Wednesday, Tales of Arise. Thursday, should be continuing the Valhalla collab with Sheppy Sheps. And then on Friday most likely will not be streaming. I'll be going out of the house to then go house sit for someone else for a little bit. I say for a little bit, it's going to be about 3 weeks, but yes, I'm going to be house sitting for a friend of mine. And so during that time, I will not be in my home for the vast majority of the time. So the stream may be a little bit different. I am committed, I am going to try and I'm going to endeavor to focus on Tales of Arise. I want to make sure that it continues to happen. So whatever it takes to accomplish that is what I will do. But yeah, I would ideally not like to have to. I would not like to have to carry my desktop. Well, I wouldn't have to carry it. I would move it in my car, but even so, I would not like to transport it, ideally, anywhere, even across a relatively short distance. But if it comes down to that, which it most likely will, then I will do that so that we can continue to play Tales of Arise. Yeah, alternatively, I could possibly also come back to my home in order to play it. That is a possibility. But, we'll see. That would be more inconvenient, really, because you'd have to be making repeated trips, if perhaps somewhat less hazardous, to the very delicate and expensive computer hardware. But yes. So, I just realized I've been talking about that, but I didn't get into the times. So, Tuesday, every day except for Thursday, we tend to aim for 7:30 p.m. Central Time. I think this is the first time I've started the, part of the stream where I'm visible and audible at 7:30 precisely. Possibly ever, but definitely the first time in a long time. Yeah, I usually don't try to be that precise. I might like to, but I don't hold myself to that high of a standard because I feel like it is somewhat impractical. But yes. So, anyway. 7:30 p.m. Central Time every day except for Thursday, where we typically begin the stream at around 8:30 p.m. Central Time. But yes. My work schedule, it's a little bit different this week. I think, I'll have to discuss it a little bit more with my boss, I think. I'll need some more clarification, but I believe the differences in the schedule shouldn't affect the stream very much. Everything should still happen at roughly the expected time, and anything that does impact that will just be its own thing, basically. Yeah, I already said that I'm probably not streaming on Friday, right? Yeah. Because, one way or another, I'll have to move my stuff over to the house that I'm house sitting for, and I'll have to do all of that. So it'll take some time to do. But yes, and so I will not be streaming. But yes. So, beyond that, like I said, I'm going to commit to, what? We'll talk about it more once we get into the game, because this is a game that is pretty good for talking about things during, I think. I have not found it to be particularly frustrating or angering so far. Perhaps things could change, but thus far the game has been pretty calm, a pretty calm and honestly kind of relaxing time. Yeah, very different from the sort of high energy, high speed sort of action of Tales of Arise that we see pretty often. I do like to, and I do try to aim to sort of vary up the types of games that I play. We have streams where we're doing something more high energy and streams where we do something more low energy, just because I feel like that keeps it a bit fresher for myself and for everyone else. But anyway, here I am talking about how I'm going to save talking about things until we start the game. I haven't started the game yet, so let's start the game. Oh. Yeah, and just to double check. We have game audio. Maybe I shouldn't be testing it by making random movements on the game. That seems unsafe, actually. I've got... I don't seem to have game audio... full stop, I guess. Oh no. No, there it is. Okay. Oh. But yeah, I thought I didn't have game audio, but it turns out I did. Oh dear. I really need to clean off my desk one of these days. I did recently. Relatively recently. Recently for me, when it comes to cleaning my desk, means this decade, essentially. But I did recently clean it somewhat, but as with all things, the passage of time has undone a lot of what I have done. So yes. There we go. Sort of getting back into the habit of this game. Or not habit, but into the reawakening my understanding of it, perhaps. Oops. Goodbye.
I feel your pain.
Oh,
the pain in knowing this has happened
as far as
to
I was
you.
expecting.
The pain in knowing what more tears we've gained.
Yes.
But through all this,
where was I?
I feel your pain.
I was talking about quite a few things.
Octavia Hawkins Richards.
Sometimes I prepare topics ahead of the stream to talk about. I write them down so I'll remember them. Today is not one of those days. So I'll try to remember what it was I wanted to discuss. But we might just end up talking about
crushing your dreams
whatever.
And dashing your hopes. You're climbing a mountain with a hammer and no ropes.
Yes. So first of all, Tales of Arise, like I said, I've decided I want to commit to finishing Tales of Arise in a timely manner, basically. Yeah, I don't anticipate it will take too much longer, maybe a few more months. Yeah, 2 to 3, depending on how quickly I make my way through the game. Yeah, going off of my usual thorough but not completionist type of playthroughs that I do here. Yeah, if the website How Long to Beat is to be believed, we are looking at another, I think, I don't remember precisely, but I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30 hours left in the game. Again, depending just on how long I do it and how thoroughly how quickly versus how thoroughly I play. And yeah, I don't want to rush. I don't want to rush through the game. I'm not trying to finish it before anything happens, trying to meet any sort of deadline. I just, want to get it done, basically. And not that I want it to be over with, but I do want to, I don't want to take a break from it, because I've already taken 2 sort of unscheduled breaks from it in the sort of extended, unexpected, accidental hiatuses that I've had in these past few months.
The mountain seems no more a soulless thing,
unfortunate,
but rather as a shape of ancient fear, in darkness and the winds of chaos born, amid the lordless heavens thundering, a presence crouched, enormous and austere, before whose feet the mighty waters mourn. George Sterling.
I was going to say, I was wondering if this was original poetry, because it seemed so apropos for the game. It seemed so appropriate for the game that I assumed that it must have been something that Bennett Foddy wrote. though it seemed to be a little bit outside of the style of the other Bennett Foddy poetry that we've experienced in this game so far. But yes. So, Tales of Arise. Again, I want to be diligent in beating that game, simply because I've spent long enough not playing Tales of Arise recently that I want to make sure that I'm, not taking more time not playing Tales of Arise, ideally. At least not any more time than I already am planning on. I think this is the third distinct cover of Going Down the Road Feeling Bad that we've heard so far. Or at least the third distinct one that has started playing. You didn't really hear it all that much by the time I said that. Maybe once I get to the end of this game, I'll spend some time. I don't know why I'm trying to do this way. It's completely different to how I tackled that obstacle previously, and it's obviously not working. So maybe I should go back to the thing that I know does work. But yeah, things like that are sort of why I want to. Things like the, sort of not having in mind the things that work for a particular game are sort of why I prefer to not stop playing a game for an extended period of time if I'm playing it on stream, It's a habit that I have in my sort of everyday casual playthroughs of games as well. This isn't going to work. Now that I think about it, I don't remember precisely what I do to get over that obstacle. All right. So yes. So it's less about Tales of Arise, I suppose, and more so about just wanting to clear up sort of the most pressing business in my mind in terms of game playthroughs. And so the reason for this, basically, is I'm currently thinking about, I've been talking about for a while, off and on, haven't mentioned it in a while, I don't think, but I've been working off and on, renovating the stream, basically. You've seen, if you were here from the beginning, you saw the sort of staging area, the studio as I call it, the room. And it's functional, almost. But that's just about the nicest thing you can say about it. But yeah, there's a lot of assets that I use for the stream that theoretically are or were placeholders. Things that I intended to. I only started using them because I didn't have something else prepared. Things that I only started using because I didn't have something else prepared, and that I expected to replace pretty quickly. And so, time has gone on, and they have not been replaced, in short. But yeah, a lot. Yeah, it's coming up on almost 2 years now that I've been streaming, really. It will become, let's see, when did I start? Was it March? I think it was March. February or March, I believe. Something like that. So, we are rapidly approaching the 2nd anniversary of the stream, and still almost all of the assets are placeholders, from the music to the art. The only thing that isn't really is my own model. But yeah, and even then, you sort of get a bit real for the minute, there's a lot even just with my own sort of VTuber presentation that I want to work on. So even that is not finished per se. And I'm also intending to have a second, a new model, make a new one here soon. And so, during this time, I've been planning all this since about the time of the first anniversary, really. Yeah, since the time of the first anniversary, and I've made, very little progress, very infrequent, small increments of progress, and basically, I've just sort of been reflecting on that. I was talking about it with a friend of mine earlier as well, and we've sort of they I asked them for sort of the criticism they would give, and they said, you should really like fix up the things that are you should fix up the placeholders, replace them with actual finished products. And I agree. Yeah, I always agreed, but I always felt that way, but having someone else just say it directly to my face, more or less, it was over voice. It was over, Discord, a Discord voice call. But, being told it directly by, someone whom I trust and respect and whom I specifically asked for criticism from, really, brings it home that, this is something that I need to work on. And so, to bring this back to what I was talking about with Tales of Arise, I don't want to... Yeah, I do want to go on a hiatus to work on these things, because my schedule, the combination of my schedule and my time management, my poor time management skills, are such that I generally don't really have enough time in a given week to get much done on these assets and all this, and also to stream on any given day. And of course, there are days of the week where I don't stream, where I could get some more done. But, I want to have time that I can spend to really focus on it, and without the distraction of thinking, okay, what am I, preparing? Not that I do so all that often.
Whenever I climb,
but
I'm followed by a dog called Ego.
Yeah, preparing
Friedrich
sort of,
Nietzsche.
like I was saying, topics for the stream, thinking about things to talk about, thinking about the games themselves, all these various things. But yeah, and just in general, I want to have time to sort of improve the looks of everything, improve just general aspects of it, but also, just learn a little bit more, about all the sort of stuff that goes on. Because, I show up, I stream, I upload the VODs to YouTube, I put out tweets, basically, saying that, I'm going to be playing the game here in this amount of time. But, there's a lot more to it than that. If I want to, I don't know, if I want to sort of, I don't know, there's more to it than that, basically. If I want to create something that's, like, notable, I guess. There's probably a better way to put that, but I can't think of a better way to phrase it at the moment. Alright. Well, yeah. So, I've got, again, almost 2 years of practice here, talking into a microphone and all that. But a lot of the other sort of topics, like, editing videos to make, like, clips, or, like, just, shortened versions of videos for people who don't want to watch a whole hour and a half, 2 hour stream. Things like that. Highlights, I guess. I don't know if there's a specific term for it, but, things like that. things to sort of
I'm
improve.
I'm gonna let you be for a little bit.
All right, yeah, improve the experience or make it more. Again, so people don't have to, who don't want to spend that long on a stream, can get sort of the gist, can get the highlights and all that. Yeah. Again, just generally sort of improving. All right, we're up to 4, I think. Yeah, that's new. That's new. We're up to four variants on going down the road and feeling bad. That's a whole 2 in this one stream alone. Yeah, I feel like I feel like I've sort of lost a lot of the techniques that I was using. 'Cause I remember being able to do all of this a lot faster. Yeah, I did. I did play last Tuesday, right? I didn't like skip a week or something, and that's why I've lost my muscle memory. Oh, I think there was a week where I didn't play Getting Over It between the first and the second stream of it. But I don't think there was between this and the second stream. I don't know. Again, I've sort of been thinking about a lot of things, so maybe I'm just kind of distracted. I'm making, more of an effort to present specific topics right now than I usually do, both in Getting Over It streams and in general. But yeah, and beyond that, just beyond taking the time to beyond taking the time to work on assets and such and so forth, and learning more about streaming, learning more about all of that. And, also I want to, I've got lore, but like I don't really integrate it into the stream. We're being very real today. I hope you all don't mind that. But yeah. Oh, there's the orange. Interesting. Wait, hold on. I can't. Yeah. I was trying to take a screenshot of it, but I realized that I'm not playing this through Steam. Let's see. I think. Well, no, that wouldn't work. Will this? That produces a visual effect, which I would prefer it didn't, to be honest. Yeah. I try to set up my stream in such a way as to prevent visual effects from occurring when I take screenshots, because I take screenshots very frequently. Yeah, I've had streams where I've taken upwards of 100 screenshots. So if I had like a little prompt coming up on screen every time that happened, it would be irritating. It's a little bit irritating for me, which is why I try to spare everyone else from it as well. But yes. Oh dear. So anyway, lore, spending time to solidify the lore a little bit and, make myself more familiar with it so I can integrate it better into the streaming experience. Because, there's nothing wrong with being just sort of a guy who talks into a microphone for an hour or more at a time while playing a video game or something. But I do, I kind of like the idea, at least, of sort of playing a character. I would like to do that. And ultimately, this is going to be a character that is very similar to myself. But, I would like to have more of a character, have more of a story, I guess. And there's very, very little about the stream that sort of points to the character that I do have, the story that I do have. So there's a lot of, not just doing things, but or not just like making things, but of like designing, how do I implement this sort of stuff into the way I present, into the visuals, into the audio and all that. How do I make a cohesive, understandable, enjoyable sort of experience in that way? So, I want to be able to do all of this without having to spend too much time thinking about the actual process of streaming and all of that, which, takes a considerable amount of time. Yeah, it takes a considerable amount of time and mental effort. Because, to a certain extent, I just have to, even if I have the time, even if I could spend like an hour or 2 hours each day or working on stuff outside of the stream for the purpose of the stream, like that doesn't change the fact that I'm, working 2 part-time jobs in addition to that. So if I'm doing all of this and I'm streaming, or if I'm, doing stream-related tasks and I'm streaming and I'm working, like that's a lot. That's a lot to do in one day, even if I do have the time for it in theory. It would be, I wouldn't be doing my best work in any field, I wouldn't be doing my best work in any of these aspects of the experience. And so ultimately I feel like it would be a worse experience than if I just took some time off to really focus on a few things rather than trying to do everything at once. That, and again, I do still struggle a lot with time management. I've never been particularly good at it. And I'm especially, well, I don't know, I'm not especially bad at it now, but, I've just never been all that good at it. It's more, I feel the consequences of it more so now than perhaps I used to, is more the thing. Because, with my work, all of the work I do is while I'm at work. So it doesn't matter if I, make time to work, because I'm at work for the length of time that I'm at work. And if I'm, not working, then it doesn't really matter all that much what I'm spending my time on, because it's my free time, But for the stream, there's stuff that needs to be done for the stream that necessarily has to take place while I'm not streaming. Maybe not has to, but is best accomplished while I'm not streaming, like uploading videos, editing them, things like that. All the tasks that are not particularly engaging and that I don't feel like talking over to make them engaging, if they are not already themselves such. Alright. I think I'm sort of getting the hang of this again to a certain extent. I feel like the skill of doing the big sort of windmill swings, as I sort of think of them, I was going to say as I've been calling them. I definitely haven't called them that yet today. I don't know if I've called them that at all. But that's sort of what I've been thinking of them as when I do, like, something like this, a maneuver like this. I wonder if the narrator, Bennett Foddy, would notice if I was, like, intentionally going backwards, and how he would respond to it. I don't feel like testing it right now. I would like to beat this game, ideally, at some point. Yeah, definitely wasn't going to get much momentum off of that. It might be... So one thing about my mouse is that it's got a button on it that affects its DPI in some way. I don't know how this button works. If it just switches when I press it, or if it does, how many different settings it switches between, like 1 or 2 or 3 or 500, I don't know. Yeah, and I don't know if it it's a thing where I hold it down and like press the other mouse buttons, or I scroll or something to change the DPI. So every now and then, I feel like my mouse sensitivity changes a little bit because I just sort of unknowingly press the button or something, or interact with it in some way. So it's possible that... Oops. Yeah, it's possible that my mouse sensitivity today is different from what it has been, which is throwing off my muscle memory. It's also possible that that's not true, and I just don't remember this game as well as I thought I did. Yeah, I just pressed the button again, and I feel like things feel a little bit smoother. Or they're more so how I remember. So it might be that it just switches between 2 modes, maybe, or something to that effect. And I just had it in the wrong mode. Again, I don't ever like use this setting intentionally. Yeah, I don't ever use this intentionally. It just sort of happens sometimes when I'm not paying attention. And when I'm in less precise situations, than this, I'm not likely to notice, I don't think. Alright, so that was a much faster version of this maneuver that we pulled off a few times. And I think I pulled it off kind of wrong there. I wasn't expecting that to work. To be honest, I wasn't paying all that much attention to the actual physical action that was taking place there. Because I was thinking about the mouse. So yeah. I guess, honestly, probably a lot of my feelings of unfamiliarity just stem from the fact that I'm not paying as much attention to the game as I have been previously. Because I have specific points that I want to make that I feel like are important. And so I don't want to... Yeah, I don't want to... That's it. I don't want to compromise on making those points in order to, do better in the game, basically. This isn't what I did previously, I don't think.
No.
Well, I don't know. It might have been something that I tried before, but I don't think that's how I did that the last few times that I successfully made it over here. Yeah. I feel like... I don't know. It might just be because I've only been in this particular stream for like... I don't know. What's it been? 15, 30 minutes at this point? Give or take. But I feel like I was doing a lot better during the second stream. Again, there's a lot of factors involved. Not bad. So, how did I do this? It wasn't... Might have been this, actually. No, this isn't it. It worked, though. Yeah, I feel like,
No.
yeah, before I was a little bit sort of slow and precise to a fault in some places. Now I feel like I'm rushing a little bit.
No.
Maybe that's the problem.
What? What?
But yeah, anyway. So did I make my point? That's sort of an issue I have sometimes here. Is that I start making a point, and then I make points related to that point. And then once I run out of tangential points, I realize I don't know if I made my original point. I almost feel like the way I talk is more clear to others than it is to me. At least it seems to be from the way that people respond to what I'm saying. I always feel like like I was saying, I always feel like I'm sort of talking in a extremely circuitous, confusing way, because I often get confused at what I'm trying to say by the time I've nominally said it. But I suppose if people understand what I'm saying, that's really the important part. In theory, I already know what I know, so I shouldn't need to explain it to myself. But I suppose explaining something, talking through it, a problem, is a good way to come up with solutions to that problem. So yeah, that's the whole principle behind rubber duck programming and whatnot, which is a very interesting concept. Which brings me around to another point that I would like to make about sort of the stream and things I would like to do for the stream, is an idea that I've had, and I've not come up with the main reason that I haven't done it is because I can't think of sort of a catchy sort of I don't know. I sort of think of it like sort of a segment on a show that has segments or something. Like, you know, if you have a specific part where this happens and there's like a catchy name for it or something. And I haven't been able to come up with a good name for it, so that's one of the main reasons why I haven't gone about doing it. But like, you know, I would like to sort of have, I guess, I was going to say just talk about interesting things, but I try to do that anyway. But what I mean to say, more specifically, is to have sort of a specific topic, like, prepared, with some specific information to share about it. Yeah. So, if you'll remember, the sort of Destiny lore streams were essentially streams that were entirely that, and I enjoyed those. And another little bit that I did at the start of a stream a long time ago was, I don't even remember what the stream was, but I talked about a device known as the Tempest Prognosticator, because I learned about it and I was fascinated with it. So I did a little bit of research and shared that, did a little presentation on that device before the stream started, or before it started in earnest. Yeah, and I enjoyed that. You know, I like to. That's something that I would like to try, perhaps. You know, branch out into slightly different avenues of stuff that I do here than just me playing a video game and talking about it. Again, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I would like to do other things. I'm a person who likes a good deal of variety. Yeah, of course, I've mentioned before, maybe not today, but sort of the idea of doing art streams and music streams. So yeah, a lot of the issue just comes down to I have a lot of ideas, but I don't give myself much time to sort of dwell on them, or much less plan for them. So I end up with a lot of ideas, and yeah, I just sort of don't do them because I'm just sort of, stick to sort of the same, just play, I log in for 4 days a week, and I stream a game each of those days. And for the duration of that, I just talk about the game. I don't do anything else. Well, maybe not just talk about the game, but I talk about the game, provide commentary on it, and sometimes I talk about a few other things if anything has caught my attention recently. Go off on little tangents, have little chats and all that here and there. But, there's a lot more that I could be doing that I would like to. Or at the very least, I would like to try new things. And of course, there's nothing stopping me from trying new things at literally any point. Yeah, I can always dispense with the schedule, especially as loose as it is. But I can dispense with the schedule, do whatever, whenever. I could stop playing this game right now and we could do an art stream if I wanted to, but I don't want to because I want to play this game. But yes. So, all of this is to say, again, to bring back around to the point that I was making earlier about Tales of Arise. Like, I don't want to stop doing game streams. I don't want to stop doing that. I'm not enjoying them. But I've got other things that I would like to try. And yeah. In particular, I feel like Tales of Arise is a game with its relatively complex mechanics and all that, with being a very story-focused, character-focused game. But yeah, it's the kind of game that I don't want to stop in the middle of and then come back to it, a month later, 2 months later, 3 months later, and realize, oh, I don't really know who these people are anymore. I don't know what we're doing or why, beyond just what I can glean from sort of the descriptions of quests that I have right now, or of the main story quests that I have right now. Things like that. But yeah, so I don't want to sort of become a stranger, I guess, to Tales of Arise. For a game like this, I wouldn't be super concerned, because there's not, a narrative. And the mechanics, I wouldn't say I'm really any more familiar with them than I was when I first started playing the game. It's fairly simple, I've been more proficient with them, perhaps. I feel like I have been, at least. But, all in all, the game is the game. And it's again, there's no story to forget. There's no characters to grow unfamiliar with, per se. Yeah. And the mechanics are simple enough that they're easy to pick up, even if you've not been... Yeah, easy to pick up and perform pretty reasonably well, even if you haven't been playing for a good long time. So I wouldn't mind not playing, getting over it for a while. I wouldn't mind not playing a lot of games for a while. But Tales of Arise is one that I definitely do want to... I want to work on until it is finished, I want to work on it until it is finished, so that I can maintain a comfortable level of familiarity with the game mechanics and with the story and the characters until such time as it is done, basically. Nope. Alright. So that is, again, why I am putting off the hiatus. Putting the hiatus on hiatus. Until such time as I beat Tales of Arise. And again, I don't want to rush it, because I am enjoying the game quite a bit. Got a little bit impatient there as well. Yeah, I definitely think I'm going at it a bit too quickly. Need to slow down just a little bit. I feel like, while there were some shortcomings with it, the sort of more methodical approach that I had in a lot of the previous streams in the 2 previous streams, did serve me pretty well. Alright. Well, that was a nice middle ground, I think, between sort of a hasty, reactive play and precise, planned movements. Scaffold always gives me trouble, but hopefully I won't need to go on it very many more times. Been a while since Bennett chimed in last, I must say. I guess I haven't made any significant, huge or particularly new losses in progress. Or maybe he simply doesn't feel it's necessary to comment. But, I like the little comments. Alright. Let's put into practice what I just said would be a good idea, and go at this carefully, thoughtfully, slowly when necessary, quickly when necessary. Because, there's no one way to do this, There's no one approach that will get me through the whole game, necessarily. If I were a speedrunner, perhaps I could go through the whole game quickly. But I don't know it that well. I'm certainly not that practiced. I suppose I am a speedrunner. I do hold a world record, so I am... I think if anyone could say that they're a speedrunner, maybe... I am maybe not a person, but I think I can confidently say that as a person who holds a world record in a speedrun category in a game, I think I'm a speedrunner. But I'm not a speedrunner of this game, specifically. As evidenced. But yes. I really do... I also want to play Jamestown, speaking of speedrunning. I want to play Jamestown more. I want to sort of develop the route some more. I'd really like to do some routing for Jamestown Plus as well. Because I imagine, there's content that is in Jamestown Plus that isn't in the original Jamestown. Yeah, from new ships to new levels. And I'd really like to see, how we could work to optimize those as well.
No.
But yeah. I'm really... Yeah, the Jamestown speedrunning community is one of many communities that I am in, but which I do not interact with in any real meaningful way. Beyond the fact that I contributed to it by doing a few speedruns of it on stream. Yeah, it all sort of comes down to, in a lot of respects, just sort of nervousness, social anxiety, is why I, again, am part of quite a few communities, but don't really do much in them, don't interact with other members of the communities, per se. But yeah, in the streaming community, I've got a lot of people that I, there's streams that I sort of watch every now and then, but I don't comment on them all that often. But yeah, I'm on Twitter, but I, you know, only post when I'm about to do a stream, basically. But yeah, I don't so much as like other tweets. I don't think I've ever done that, actually. Yeah, even before I was using this as sort of a, my Twitter account as a Twitter account for me to do stream-related things. Even before then, I don't think I retweeted anything, basically. I don't think I liked any tweets, basically. I follow very few people, And, there's something to be said to moderating your exposure to social media. There's probably a lot to be gained by not spending a whole lot of time on Twitter, to be honest, but, every so often on Twitter or on here and there and wherever, someone will sort of make a little reach out to me in some respect, say, tag me in something or whatever, and then I just sort of will not respond because I worry that there's some sort of unspoken etiquette that I don't know, and I'm worried that I'll do something wrong. Yeah, again, social anxiety and all that. It is what it is. Oops. Yes. How did we do this? Nope. Yeah, I didn't quite commit to that. Didn't quite commit to that movement well enough, I don't think. And that time I committed a bit too much, I think. That time I didn't succeed at getting back up to the grill anyway. Well, yeah, so another sort of thing, talking about sort of what I would like to do as a streamer. I don't often play games that I've played before. Let's see, what have I, or at least, not games that I've played extensively before. Yeah, I played Gunpoint, which I had beaten before, and I played Sonic Adventure, which I had beaten before. But beyond that, most of the games that I played on stream are games that I'm either playing for the first time, or, this is the first time that I'm spending more than like one to two, maybe even 3. Yeah, one or more hours in. The first time I'm spending like trying to beat this game, And I'd like to have sort of a maybe not for all of them, but have some playthroughs where I'm a little bit more informed about the game, can give and comment on it in greater detail. Maybe even tell you something you didn't know about the game. But, again, for most of these playthroughs, it has just been me sort of discovering things at the same time anyone else watching this game for the first time would. Not sort of anything super insightful. I try to be insightful and analytical wherever I can, spending time to pay attention to pay attention to what's going on, speculate about things, where the story could be going, what this or that means, or what it implies for, the greater scope of the experience and all that. But, again, I think it'd be nice to sort of have play a game where I'm, like, really, really know it, And, part of the issue with that is the fact that I don't know all that many games all that well. I tend not to... I beat games very infrequently. Usually, I don't beat a number of games per year, or at least before streaming, I didn't tend to beat more than one game a year. Usually what ended up happening more often was I didn't beat games per year. I would spend years per game, basically, even for very short games. I would beat one game every two or so years. 1 to 2 years. Yeah, simply because, I wouldn't sort of stick around on one project for long, or one game for very long before moving on to another one. Just sort of, and I'd often go back and forth, but then I'd run into the issue I was talking about before, where I'd not play a game for a good length of time, and then I'd sort of lose my investment in the story and the characters because they're not familiar to me anymore. I'd lose my investment in the gameplay because I'd be at some length in the game, some distance in the game, and I'd have realized I'd forgotten how to, best make use of this system or that system and all that. Yeah, it was... When I was younger, it was particularly common for me to essentially play a game up until either the very last dungeon or the very last boss, and then just not play the game anymore. Basically just because I was sort of, I didn't want it to be over, I guess, in a sense. And in some cases because when I was particularly young, I just was very afraid of final bosses. I felt like, oh, there's no way I can beat this boss. This is the biggest challenge in this whole game. How could I possibly, And really, the final boss in a lot of games isn't necessarily the biggest challenge in the game. At least not the, it's not always the most difficult thing in a lot of games. And even when it is, you spent the whole game up to that point getting prepared to face the final boss. So, it's not like, it's a lot easier than if it's a lot easier beating the final boss when you've just spent, like, the past, year or a few months or whatever, putting in a few hours or an hour or whatever each day, playing the game, learning it, improving yourself and your character, and then facing the final boss, the final challenge. Then, if you'd done so just like to start off with. And, at this point I feel like I'm grown well beyond sort of the fear of challenges in video games in general. I mean, if nothing else, these getting over it streams have shown that I'm not terribly opposed to taking on a very difficult, complex task. And I guess it's really not a complex task, but it's, it's difficult. I feel like it's an important distinction. Maybe not that important. I'm very particular about the way I use language. But yeah, I feel like it is a less so important and more so meaningful distinction that doesn't get made perhaps as often as it should or could be. But the distinction between something being difficult and being complicated, or simple and easy. Because, tearing down a brick wall with your bare hands is a very simple task. You've just gotta hit it. You've just gotta hit it because you've already got all the things available to you. You got your hands, So there's nothing, there's nothing really that needs to be... You don't need to learn how to use any tools or anything. You don't need to find the thing that you need to work on. The brick wall's right in front of you and you got your hands. And presumably you already know how to use your hands. For the sake of this analogy, we'll say that you do. But, you know, it's a simple, very straightforward process, but it's exceptionally difficult and very painful, presumably also. Because, you know, you got to hit it hard. And, yeah, even if you don't hit it hard, you're still going to be hitting it a lot. And even if you do hit it hard, you're going to be hitting it a lot. You're just going to be hitting it less than if you don't hit it particularly hard. And yeah, one way or another, you know, it'll take a long time, and it will be painful, and it will be difficult. But it's very simple.
No.
You know, there's nothing to it but to do it, as they say. There's nothing to it but to do it. But the doing it is not... The doing it is very difficult. Meanwhile, the same task could be very easy if you sort of had, you know, explosives or something to take down the wall. But it could be very complicated if you, you know, didn't have any knowledge of how to use explosives and you didn't have access to any, so you had to make your own. And so you had to learn how to make them and learn how to deploy them safely to, you know, take down this wall. Yeah, it could be a very complicated but easy task. Or it could be a very... Oops. Yeah, it could be a very complicated... You can have very complicated but relatively easy tasks. Or you can have very, very simple but very difficult tasks. But, you know, it's usually not that cut and dry, black and white. Yes, things are varying degrees of easy and complicated, or difficult and simple. But yeah, I feel like to a certain extent, I'm sort of trying to rely on muscle memory that isn't quite there. I feel like I've said this before, but I mean it in a slightly different sense than the way I said it before, I think. In that I'm sort of trying to act upon... I'm trying to do this as though I know better how to do this. If that makes any sense. It doesn't to me. Oops. Alright, well, I guess we'll... I was still trying to think of a way to phrase that, but I think I'm just going to get distracted if I keep dwelling on it. So instead... Sit. Yeah. I guess... I said I was going to move past it, but we're going to talk about it some more. So anyway, as I was saying, to elaborate a little bit, I feel like I'm trying to rely upon sort of a muscle memory, instinctual understanding of how to overcome these various obstacles that I do not have. I expect myself to sort of know how to handle them because in theory I've done this before. Yeah, I've done this before, so I sort of think I'll just do what I did last time. And so I just sort of move without thinking. And only once I've failed do I realize, oh, hold on. I don't remember what I did last time. And even if I did, generally it's a pretty complex sequence of events and series of actions that I must take to cause those events to occur. So it'd be hard to go just off of pure muscle memory, pure instinct, when I'm really still pretty unfamiliar with what I'm doing.
No.
Alright. Alright, we're getting back up to where we were. That's nice. Oop. Okay, so now gotta move over a little bit so the hammer doesn't get caught. There we are. And we'll try this again. Not bad. Go a little bit slower. Because this is not a place where I need to go especially fast. Yeah, again, I'm sort of... Yeah. In the first part, I went very slow, and I sort of acknowledged that fact. In the second part, I made more of a conscious effort to go faster. Yeah, I made more of a conscious effort to go faster. In this part, I feel like I've sort of internalized that. So I'm making a lot of sort of fast movements, again, without thinking a whole lot about them. And struggling a lot as a result. Because I don't yet have the skill to back up the risk I'm taking. Case in point. Oops. So, what we'll do is we'll take it a little bit slower. Take it a little bit slower once we get back up there. And here too, probably, though I feel like I understand this pretty well. I've got a pretty consistent strategy for dealing with this obstacle. And it's definitely not the strategy that I had before, because I remember, I can't quite indicate it properly, but that sort of ledge, that metal ledge, the left side of that, I remember I accomplished this by hanging off of that, generally, and that's what I've sort of been aiming for, what I was wanting to do, but now I can't remember how to do it. But I found a technique in the thing that I just executed. I can't describe the sequence of events appropriately while attempting to do a separate action. So yeah. Whoops. So yeah, that specific thing that I did is it feels like it's more reliable than what I was doing before. Or at least I feel like I've failed it less. Or perhaps just a lower proportion of the times that I've attempted it compared to the other one. Yeah, this I feel... Oh, maybe that's what I did. Of course, that didn't work, because I wasn't expecting to grab onto the ledge after so many times just grabbing onto the boxes, but such is life. Yeah, that's definitely a place where... That is definitely a place where I went too fast. I could have gone slower and done better, basically. So, as I was saying, when it is necessary, we will go a little bit slower with our motions, be a little bit more precise, because again, that's sort of a technique that I seem to have lost somewhat. Here, I think we probably need to go a little bit faster than what I'm doing. No, not that way. Seems to be... It's hard to get leverage on that staircase, it seems like. Oh. Hold on, I didn't see that name. Red Devil Metalcore Fan 1. Thank you for the follow. Where was I? Well, I was about here, I guess. I wasn't too far off from where I am right now. But yes. So again, finding the right proportion of slow moves to make, slow, careful moves, and faster moves, I suppose. There we are. Yeah, that, again, was a very unnecessarily risky, trying to pull myself up here from there, where I was. Because if the hammer had been basically any lower, I think I would have nudged into the the edge and flung myself off, as I just nearly did now. It is what it is, of course. How did I get up that staircase before? I'm realizing that I've completely forgotten.
Oh no.
I don't know that that was ever a part that I particularly struggled with either. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why I don't remember it as well. Oh dear. I'm definitely. I don't know. I'm definitely developing a sore shoulder today.
Oh.
Interesting. Before when I played, it was usually my wrist that got sort of stiff and sore, and now it's my shoulder. Again, maybe that's sort of comes down to the difference in the actions that I'm making. I'm making much stronger, more dynamic motions when I'm going fast versus when I'm going precisely. You tense up different muscle groups and all that. I don't like this. This is a bad situation to be in, I think. Not insurmountable, but I don't have very much good leverage here.
Oh no.
I'm very glad, very glad that I managed to salvage that. I was a little bit nervous there. Well, I was a little bit careless there, unfortunately. But yeah, I guess definitely just in terms of how much progress we've made this stream, this is definitely one of the worst ones. You know, of the three, I guess. It's not a huge pool that we're pulling from. Careful, there we go. And down, and up.
No.
That was a little bit much there. Quite a bit of leverage I got there. And cautious. And launch. Not quite as horizontal as I would have liked, but it still got the job done, so I suppose I can't complain. And no. Yeah, that again, I was being too quick there. But yeah, I have to learn balance. Or at least learn when to use what sorts of motions. Very good, very good. And not bad, not bad. And pull up and around. There we go. And go. There we go. Sip. Yeah, I've got to say, my voice is bothering me a little bit more today than usual. Yeah, I was typically when I start a stream, you know, I've had a fair amount of time to sort of rest my voice after work generally. But yeah, and there was a pretty long length of time between when I finished work for the day and when I started the stream for the day, but I happened to be speaking with some friends on Discord for a good while up until the start of the stream. So yeah, the voice is definitely feeling a little bit more tired today than usual. which is a little bit unfortunate. I might call it a little bit early tonight. We'll go at least until 9, which would put us at about an hour and a half, which is not too far off the usual. I used to be more consistent about doing 2-hour or so streams, but I definitely have noticed a trend closer to hour and a half streams in the very recent days. Yeah, in all, I think I've talked about this a little bit more, but at work I've been doing more generally. I haven't necessarily been working more on any given day, but I've been doing more work on each day that I work. So I'm a little bit more tired nowadays. Because again, very recently. Again, I don't want to go into too much detail for people's privacy's sake, my own and those of my fellows, but again, I've said this before. I live in a very small town. The place where I work, there are 3 employees. Yeah, one of whom is the manager of the place, essentially. Yeah, there are 3 employees, and one of them is injured. One of them, I guess not injured, but is recovering from a surgery. Injured in a sense, I suppose, but sort of a intentional, professional injury, if that's what we want to call, a surgery, a professional injury inflicted upon you. That seems like a very funny way to refer to surgery, so maybe I'll go out of my way to do that more often. But yes, one of my coworkers has received a professional injury, and the other one, I don't know. Saying professional injury sounds a little bit too close to workplace injury. I feel like that could get confusing. But ambiguity in speech can be kind of fun sometimes. I like to make use of ambiguity in speech for the purpose of jokes a lot, so maybe we'll just lean into that fact. But yeah, so my coworker was professionally injured, and is recovering from that. And another one of my coworkers, for a good long time they weren't able to do any work at all. And another one of my coworkers, has been sick recently. Not super recently, but they spent some time being sick for a while. They recently got married, so they took some time off for that. So pretty often in these past few months, I have there have been a lot of days and a lot of even like a week or around as much at a time where I've been the only employee at my place of employment, which places a certain amount of additional strain on you, I would say. It's not easy. I'm fortunate that my job is not particularly strenuous. But yeah, there's very little, lifting of things. And there's not... It's not very hard work. It's not physically demanding. It's not extremely mentally taxing. But when you are one person doing the work of 3 people occasionally, or when you are 2 people doing the work of 3 people even, it's a little bit rough, So I definitely feel like I've had a little bit less energy, particularly at the end of the day, recently than before. I also messed up my sleep schedule a little bit recently because I've been playing a lot of Terraria. I've been playing an somewhat unreasonable amount of Terraria recently. And so I ended up spending a lot of time on it and staying up a little bit late over the weekends. Yeah, over this most recent weekend specifically, I suppose. But yes. Anyway.
Oh.
But yeah, so I'm a little bit tired, again, from the work. I'm a little bit tired from the poor sleep. So, you know, I think I'm committed to getting further than where we started. I don't want to leave off where we started, but we might not make it that far afterwards. And again, if it hits 9 o'clock, I might just call it a day.
Oh no.
Nope. Oh, I didn't expect to recover from that, actually. Yeah, reaction time is a little bit of a weakness of mine. Or maybe not reaction time, but I tend to assume certain things will happen, and then react slowly to changes if those things don't happen as I expected. Yeah, that was not a case of that. That was just poor decision making. But a lot of the time, I'll sort of attempt something and try to follow, expecting a certain result and sort of follow through on the result that I expected, rather than trying to ascertain what actually happened and respond to that. There we are. One thing I would definitely like to get a better understanding of is sort of how you get leverage in this game. Because it feels like a lot of the time, there's a lot of instances where I'm simply unable to get leverage. And there are also times when I'm able to get quite a bit of it without too much difficulty. I assume maybe part of the issue might just be that I'm not really paying as much attention to the head of the hammer as I could be, because the shape of it is very important. Like, the shape of it does impact how it will move. It's not like, it's not just treated as a box or as a rectangle or as a sphere. Yeah, like the exact shape of it does matter. Every single slope on it, each edge. I don't know how precisely the collision is modeled on it, but it's pretty precise. It's much more precise than most objects in most games. Because again, we've been over this before, but like, this game is all collision. It's all about collision. And so if the collision weren't good, if it weren't very good, then the game would not be good, basically. But yeah, so for instance, I don't know if the little wooden bit sticking out of the top of the head of the hammer, yeah, it doesn't seem like that protrudes in any way from the collision box of the hammer. But yeah, so I think probably when it seems like I'm not getting leverage, I think a lot of the time it's probably because the hammer is positioned in such a way that, like, I can't really move it, per se. Because, like, on a flat or relatively flat surface like this, it can sort of roll, Nope. Yeah, it can sort of roll to a certain extent. But, like, in sort of a situation like this, it can't. It can't turn because, yeah, if it were to turn too much, I guess the collision here isn't quite super in line with what the actual apparent model of the grill. But I'm sort of undermining what I just said, I suppose, but yeah. So if I were to turn the hammer in that case, I can't roll it as smoothly as I can on some surfaces, because if to do so would cause it to clip into the collision box of the grill. And yes, this game is, again, maybe more so than having the collision be very precise to what the physical objects you see on screen are, more so than in most games. Yeah, it's more so that the collision is sort of, it's precise in what the game sort of expects out of it. But yeah, in most games, it doesn't really matter if you clip slightly into something. Like, that's fine, as long as you don't clip all the way through a wall or something. Yeah, it doesn't really matter if parts of your character model go into an object. It doesn't matter if parts of an object go into your character model. At least that doesn't have any real gameplay implications for the most part, again, unless you can use that to get out of bounds or something like that. But again, this is a game that is all about collision interactions. So it will not let you, it will not let you roll the hammer in a way or in a situation that cannot be explained within the game logic, I guess, more so than anything. In real life, unless this hammer is made out of some incredibly dense material, like, it's definitely not going to act as a counterweight to this entire man. Because I don't know, I guess I'm not that well versed in physics, but just, based on what happens when you swing around the hammer, the hammer definitely seems like it's heavier than the man in the jar. Yeah, so his combined weight with that of the metal pot that he is inhabiting seem to be significantly less than that of the head of the hammer. And again, that is game logic. It has to work that way, or else the game wouldn't work at all. And so I do not begrudge at that.
No.
I rather prefer it, in fact. But yeah, all of this is to say that. Actually, where was I going? It was about hammer collision, the hammer shape, and not. I guess that was a little bit of a tangent. But yeah, so I'm trying to, or when you try to move the hammer in such a way that would cause the hammer to flip into another object, the game's pretty strict about not letting you do that. Whereas again, in other games that aren't just about collision physics interactions and collisions, it doesn't matter as much. Yeah, in other games, sort of that verisimilitude, I wouldn't say realism, again, because of the way the rest of the game is. But that sort of verisimilitude is sacrificed generally in favor of making a game that is smooth and easy to control. But again, the challenge of this game lies in the controls. Yeah, this isn't a game about I don't know, this isn't a sort of a, tactical game. This isn't a strategic game. This isn't generally a reaction game. This is a game that is about... Yeah, this is a game about... I don't know. It's a very particular type of game. It's a very particular type of game where the challenge is in overcoming the inherent awkwardness of the controls, in the difficulty in accomplishing even relatively simple basic tasks. Yeah, I've heard these called games in that sort of vein be called rage games. Games like Getting Over It, Jump King, and the like, where there's sort of an expectation of repeated player failure and significant progress loss. I think that's the worst we've done on that obstacle yet. But yeah, I've heard these called rage games. I mean, I guess that works as a descriptor. I don't think, it's not... When I say games like these, in regards to, again, getting over it with Bennett Foddy, Jump King, and such, I'm talking more about sort of the, I'm not talking about them in the terms of how they make you feel playing them. In this particular instance, I'm talking about it in terms of what the basic challenge of the game is. Yeah, in a way, the challenge in this game is more so in line with the challenge of, say, well, I was going to say of a Super Mario Brothers game, but I feel like the challenge in those games is less so. Again, it's not really in the controls. Mario generally responds very well in most Mario games. He moves very smoothly and fluidly, moves as you want him to do. He's very responsive. And the challenge is in the levels, the level design, overcoming sort of puzzles, and again, sort of timing and reaction challenges and things like that. Whereas in this game, again, the struggle is with the controls, the awkwardness of the system itself. In that sense, it's more similar to, I guess more so than Super Mario Brothers, it's more similar to a game like Dwarf Fortress, where there is an inherent difficulty in playing it. Just the act of playing the game poses certain challenges, because you don't have all that much control over a lot of what goes on in the game. If you are experienced and you know what you're doing, you can exert a pretty good amount of control. And pardon me if I pause a little bit more in my speech, if I'm a little bit more, as I'm paying more attention now to not losing the precious little progress we've gained over an hour and a half or so of playing this game. Okay, I was worried that I was going to slide off of this. Alright, we slid off of the cliff face. But yeah, anyway. So, like I was saying, the difficulty is in the system by which you interact with the game, not in the challenges presented to you. And I think Dwarf Fortress has a very similar sort of design ethos of that, it presents you with problems, but doesn't necessarily give you, without sort of the expectation that you will necessarily have the skills built up and the tools you need necessarily to resolve them, unlike in a more traditional game, where they tend to spend a fair amount of time teaching the player how to, even without words, designing levels in such a way that, the concepts from one sort of lead into the next, and so on and so forth. Maybe not directly like that, but, you will learn concepts in a relatively easy form in one level, and then typically, maybe sometimes within the same level, but you will be exposed to them in a more challenging way, sort of test your understanding, and so on and so forth. Whereas again, this is a game... this is, as Bennett Foddy sort of said, I don't remember precisely what he said, but, he was talking way back in the first stream about how, a lot of the time in testing the game, you would come across obstacles and think, maybe I should make this a little bit easier, or so on, or so forth. But he ultimately, maybe not in every case, but in a lot of cases decided against it, because, sort of, again, this game is designed, as he put it, to have sort of authentic obstacles that aren't just sort of designed to be overcome, per se. Designed with the expectation that you will have the skills necessary to overcome them by the time you reach them. Or that you will have sort of a... Or that, you know, where challenges are designed to teach you how to overcome them. Yeah, that cliff face is particularly challenging to me. I guess because it's very rounded in shape. You've been dealing with a lot of sort of angular shapes recently. I was hoping I could salvage that, but no such luck, I think. Yeah, I think after all that's been said, I might just make it back to where we started and then wrap it up there again, unfortunately. And let's endeavor to be a little bit careful, exhibit some caution, such that we don't end up significantly further away from where we started. Because it'd be a real shame if I had to spend another 20-30 minutes getting back up to that desk. Alright, so, we're not going to fall off of that ledge. Oop. Yeah, again, that was an example of the hammer sort of getting caught on the terrain. Not quite in the way that I was describing earlier. But, oh well. So yeah, anyway. So again, you know, Dwarf Fortress. Dwarf Fortress does have a difficulty curve, and this game definitely has a difficulty curve as well. But again, neither of them are designed in such a way as to really teach you. You know, you learn necessarily by playing, because that's simply the nature of the human experience. You see things, you experience them, and you learn from the experiences you have. You know, ideally anyway. But yeah, that is simply the nature of the human experience. But these games are not necessarily designed in such a way as to specifically give you the skills and the tools that you need when you need them to accomplish these tasks. Yeah, there's, you know, generally very little sort of direction and guidance. I mean, Dwarf Fortress, like, perhaps infamously, is a game that cannot be won as of right now. There's no win condition for Dwarf Fortress. It's very possible to lose. It's pretty easy to lose, in fact. And so, yeah, given enough time, you will either lose or you'll get tired of the game. Because there is no... You cannot win Dwarf Fortress. It is not possible. You can accomplish tasks of your own creation and say that you are satisfied with it. But you cannot... There is no sort of objective victory in Dwarf Fortress. You can crush every single threat, every single outside threat, and build a fortress such that the likelihood of any sort of internal threat is essentially non-existent. Maybe not literally non-existent, but essentially non-existent. Yeah, that staircase has really been the stumbling block today. I don't do a whole lot better on the section that comes immediately afterwards, but I don't lose as much progress when I fail in that section. But yeah. So I don't know if you can necessarily make a fortress that's 100% safe from internal threats. The dwarves themselves. And their sort of unpredictability and lack of direct control that you have over them.
No.
But, you know. Yeah, again, these sorts of games are sort of designed to offer you an experience that, not necessarily to offer an experience that is inherently frustrating and something that is sort of enjoyed in spite of the experience rather than because of the experience. But, they are there to offer, again, as Bennett Foddy put, an authentic obstacle, something that, you have to figure it out. You have to figure out what to do here, and you can do that by seeing other people. That's perfectly valid as well, learning from others. But ultimately, the game will not necessarily give you what you need to deal with this. So you need to give yourself what you need to deal with this. Yeah, you need to give yourself what you need to deal with this, if you want it to be dealt with. And of course, there's always the option to simply not, to call it quits at any point. And in Dwarf Fortress, again, unless you happen to, pass away while you're playing it, you will eventually reach a point in any given fortress where you will say, "This is enough. I can do no more. I am satisfied." Or perhaps you will say, "There is nothing more to do. I am bored." Or, whatever other motivation you may have. Yeah, I think I've been trying to scale the staircase just off of the stairs. In recent attempts, I've been trying to sort of go back and forth off of these stairs in the wall, and I think that's working out a little bit better. That's an example of a place where a faster approach of sort of bouncing back and forth without pausing is good.
No.
But this is a place where a slower approach of sort of lining up and doing a quick, precise, practiced motion is ideal versus sort of, again, sort of springing back and forth. And so yeah, I'm definitely feeling like I'm at the end of my reserves of energy for the day. I'm getting pretty close to that here. So I think we will finish basically where we started. I definitely don't want to I don't want to start the next stream on one of those rocks, I don't think. I feel like that would be unpleasant. All right. Yeah, I think, honestly, paying attention to the leverage a little bit more, and what situations you can get what leverage and what situations you can't get that leverage, would do me good. Well, you know what? Oh, I was gonna say I feel like taking a risk, and I just did. So maybe I should again call it. But I want to risk a little bit more here. Again, I don't want to make negative progress, but I don't want to make no progress more so than that. All right, well, that's that, I suppose. Wrong screen. Anyway, so that was getting over it. But yeah, definitely at the end of my reserves of energy here. So we'll call it. I don't feel like there's much more to be gained. I think we're sort of belaboring the point. Yeah, continuing that same sort of continuing what we were just doing. So, great, all that. Get ready for that. If anyone has any suggestions, please feel free to drop them. Otherwise, I can find one myself. Some good options today. That's it. Maybe a little bit hard to choose, I think, if I have to choose myself. And yeah, I don't see any suggestions. So I think we might just have to make that decision. And so with that said, I think, yeah, we'll go visit Alt tonight. In a very long while, a good long while since we raided Altariana. Yes, good friend of the stream, Potato VTuber. Yeah. Long-time collaborator, and so on and so forth. Yes. So, before we get underway with the raid though, let's go over the schedule once again. So, Tuesday, you'll be playing some more... Yeah, Tuesday. No, wait, hold on. Today's Tuesday. Yes. Hello, Tree Master 656H. Yeah, we're just wrapping up here. Yes, thank you for dropping by. Yes. So, as I was saying, Wednesday, instead, we'll be playing some more Tales of Arise. Yeah. Wednesday, we'll be playing Tales of Arise. Thank you for the follow, Tree Master 56H. Yes. We'll be playing more Tales of Arise on Wednesday. Thursday, we'll be continuing the Valhalla collab with Sheppy Sheps. And again, Friday, I do not expect to be streaming. It might still happen, but I don't think it will, basically. Yeah, just due to the remaster. Gotcha. Yes. Yeah, due to all that will be going on for me on Friday, I do not think that will be streaming Friday. Yeah, next week, I hope. Again, I will do whatever I can to see you tomorrow. Yeah, alright. Thanks for stopping by. But yeah, so, where was I? Right, so, again, next week, I can't necessarily guarantee anything because I will not be in my own home. So, I don't know 100% what all is going to happen, but I will endeavor to bring you Tales of Arise, to continue to bring you Tales of Arise, if nothing else. But, yeah. Anyway, so, Wednesday, we'll be streaming at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. Thursday, we should be streaming at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And then the week after that is when I will worry about that week. And so we'll figure things out from there. So, let's get this raid. Whoops. Raid. There we go. Alright. So, the customary raid message is, as always, we have arrived. So, thank you all for being here tonight. I hope you have had a fine night. I hope that you will continue to have a fine night every night. And I hope that you will be well until the next time I see you. Thank you all very much, and farewell. Let us get this raid underway.